Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game of Fans First Sports Network.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing happen on the Believe Podcast Network. And of course, here on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. If you aren't already doing your thing to like and subscribe and pay attention tonight, make sure you knock that out here before you're done here. But speaking of things getting knocked out, Travis D. Holmes, we have officially concluded preseason game 3. And what I find interesting, I'm just going to say it off the bat. By the way, shouts to Mike checking in here at this late hour. Good to see Mike Clinton, friend of the show. I liked what I saw from the Duval, and the defense in particular against the starting Miami Dolphin players, right? You know, and you know, having their starting quarterback on the field, them holding the Dolphins to 8 points in the first half, giving up only 14 total. And again, I know we're talking a lot of backups, things like that, but I think there were a lot of positives here. And listen, at the end of the day, you know, a miscue letting him convert a 4th and 16, problematic. But hey, when it's down that low down the depth chart, and I really don't think any other coach but Mike McDaniel does some of this. You know, McDaniel doing McDaniel things, I'm okay with it. Okay. But I liked what I saw from the defense overall. And the way these guys sabotage John Wolford to open the game up. Like, what are we doing? Huh?
All right, so when you say the way they sabotaged him, are we talking about his supporting cast? Is that what we're referencing?
Correct. Not just the snap, but dude hits Trenton Irwin right in the shoulder on a 3rd and 11. That would have easily been a first down, and instead we get. So hey, listen, argue with me all you want, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll explain it better if it's explained better when you read my piece for the top performers on Fans First Sports Network. John Wolford's on the list, damn it. I said what I said, Travis D. Holmes, especially playing Nick Chubb and Dolphin starters up front against an O-line that's going 3rd string and had moments. LaQuindon Jackson, excellent performer. Okay. You know.
So, John, you had John Wolford at the top of your list of players who played well. Is that what we're saying?
I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm not going to argue with this when we're talking a 3rd preseason game. But if you have anybody on your offense that played well in this game other than LaQuindon Jackson, I didn't see it. Yeah. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you.
It was him. You know, I can't put Trammell because some of the balls dropped. And frankly, he had a tackle of one LaQuindon.
All right, so I will put out that 53-man roster tomorrow sometime, probably tomorrow morning. And absolutely it will be on BigCatCountry.com and also here on the Duval Dive. So keep it locked in. Please like and subscribe. Also, come on, man. But man, that was a rough offensive showing. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'm always gonna keep it 100 with folks. Like I'm never gonna lie. That was a rough showing offensively just because of the miscues. Like, you know, obviously the red zone turnovers with the later you got into the game with Seth Hennigan, and the overthrow for, I guess, sounded like it was an overthrow of 2 different receivers. I'm not even sure who he was throwing to in that. It was behind one receiver and way over the other one. So I'm not sure if that was to Dorian Singer or, you know, or to, what was it, Cam? It was 15 and 13, I believe, the 2 receivers. So
I forget his name, but yeah.
Yeah. So nevertheless, I'm just like, ugh, that was rough. And just the quarterback play across the board, I thought was not good, other than when they scrambled and ran the ball. But the defense, again, to your point, defense played dominant. Like that was embarrassing if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. I know this. I have family members who are major Miami Dolphins fans. I got the text messages to prove it. They ain't want to hear my voice. They ain't want to see my text messages at all. That was rough. So nevertheless, it was a rough showing for certain defenders because it doesn't matter what you look like overall as a defense. I'm just going to keep it a buck. This is about individual players. So let's start talking about individual players.
And let's get into that.
BJ Green. Come on. Yeah.
Timmy Devil. Our notorious frenemy in the chat agreeing with you on BJ Green. And yeah, he had an excellent game for sure.
he had an excellent preseason. Like he entered the game top 5 in the NFL as far as his as far as the rookies. I'm sorry, pass rush pressures in the Week 2 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm sorry, the Week 2 game against the New Orleans Saints. He was, I believe, top 7 overall as far as overall pass rush win rate, and then he ended up getting a sack in this game. He already had the eyes on him, basically. So that's going to make it very hard to keep that young man off this roster. And if you don't keep him on the roster, then you have that very difficult conversation of how are you going to skirt this dude through to the practice squad without losing him to someone who's going to take a risk on taking that defensive tackle in and giving him a chance. That's tough. That's tough. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Like when I did the work for my 53-man roster, that was one of my toughest choices of whether or not to have PJ Green on this roster. And that was before he was like super dominant in this game. And then I had to go back and make changes. And I'm like, that's still tough. It's still tough when you got Mason Smith and Eric Armstead on the roster to have a guy.
That's the problem you want. You want guys to make it tough for you in that particular instance. But Robert Kemp has a comment here I think we need to get to as well. Not just because he agrees with me, but it's a factor that I think should be involved here. They had to put Waddle back in the game just to get the offense going. To Kyle's point, give me Wolford over Mullins.
No, Robert, you're my boy, and you yes, fam. I hear you. No. I mean, if those are your options, put a running back in there. We running Wildcat. Like this was not it. I'm being honest with you. They both know the offense, but neither of them is going to give you a realistic chance of winning. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not debating someone. They may be NFL quarterbacks. It's just not looking like it should look. Backup quarterback or otherwise. So if those are truly the options, if it's not Nick Mullins, I'm at a standstill. I don't know. I saw a tweet by BCC since been deleted that the 53 man that had Muma making the roster that had to been made before tonight's game.
Well, maybe
I don't know what
country did a 53-man roster, Robert, but I'm gonna tell you right now that had nothing in particular to do with one Travis D. Holmes. I can guarantee you that.
Maybe I'm not 100% sure what the tweet is that's being referenced, so we will see. But nevertheless, like, hey, my 53-man roster is going to come out tomorrow morning, and it is going to be questionable with BJ Green. Let me say it that way, because you're gonna have to make a hard choice, and that's going to be an interesting one for sure. But nevertheless, other than BJ, obviously, Danny Strigo had a solid game again. He already had the sack versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He followed that up with again in this game. But we've seen multiple preseasons where you have guys who just go off and then they don't make the roster. This happens all the time, and they don't get claimed. This happens all the time. You have everyone going in on Chad Muma. That's a rough one also. And to Robert's point and to the vitriol of the rest of the Duval, I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. Chad Moon is also a core 4 special teams player.
So you still stuck on that special teams, man? I don't know.
I'm stuck on special teams like I was stuck on special teams with Tim Jones all the time, and everybody just kept telling me I was an idiot, and he just kept on making the roster.
I agree with you on Tim.
Yeah. And he just kept making the roster over and over and over and over. I'm like, I'm not here to be right. I'm not trying to be right. I'm just saying this is what I believe is going to happen. This ain't my opinion. I believe this is what's going to happen. Whether I like it or not does not matter. I just believe Chad Moon was going to make this roster until I'm proven otherwise. Because I think he did well in 2024 on special teams. They have the same special teams coordinator, and he is a 4-core special teams guy.
Right. Well,
I just believe that's going to be the case.
I hear that. I think they have some stuff around, though. You can tell they've gotten special teams pieces to account for at least some of this. Sure. I'm not here to say that means Moon was out the door. I think he should be personally. Especially if you're in a place where you're trying to if you're in a world where FDM picks is your mantra and you're trying to breathe new life into things, Muma's the kind of guy you got to get rid of, right? It's like the inverse of Dewey, right? Hey, I don't need a culture guy anymore. The culture guy is working. Now Dewey stepped up and played really well, so that's why he's still on the roster. But I don't need a core guy anymore. I'm trying to rebuild this bleeding core. I drafted Raywan Lane. I brought in this kid, Harris, who was running the ball and did some things. Maybe I want to see if he stays around and does some special teams. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but these are just two examples of all the directions gone for special teams. Is Muma the only answer? And listen,
No,
you've been to camp you've been to camp more than I have, and how much they've used him or not. I don't have those same eyes, but they've brought in other options, and I think they said, "Show me something." You and I both know Muma has not shown anything.
Nah, that's fair. No, and to a lot of the comments that I'm already getting and the messages that I'm already getting on the phone, yo, I hear you guys. I understand. My overall point, Jack Kaiser was always going to be the heir apparent to both, well, whether it's going to be Foye or Chad Muma. I think Chad Muma was the easy one to kind of figure out. That was always going to be the case. I'm only saying that, hey, I believe that knowing where you are with the natural out in Foye's contract, knowing what the fact that you're at the end of the contract with Chad Muma, knowing the fact that you don't know how you feel about Devin Lloyd. I don't know how they feel about Devin Lloyd. I don't think the Duval really know how y'all feel about Devin Lloyd at this point. I just believe that you have the option to leave Chad Muma on that the end of the expiring contract, play him on special teams and just play it out while you allow Jack Kaiser to kind of do his thing, or you don't. And I think they could use that linebacker depth and not really stretched as far as the end of that roster is concerned. I don't believe that to be the case, even looking over this roster build. You show me the last 6 guys on this roster, and I'm just like, you can go and get a waiver wire pickup. Like, no, I'm being honest. You can go and get a waiver wire pickup.
Just like the way you put it.
Yeah, you can go and find a random guy on the waivers and see if it works out, or you can just keep Chad Muma and probably have solid special teams play, and a guy who knows the defense. I'm not here to bang the table over it. I'm just going to be honest about thinking that he's probably going to be on the roster until they find a guy who they objectively just can slam the table and say, this guy's absolutely going to be better, and I'll do that. But for the moment, I'm just like, he's not great, and he keeps missing tackles, and he keeps being on the wrong end of highlight plays, whether it's the catch from the tight end from the Saints, or it is the missing tackle in the open field twice in this game. It is what it is.
I think Robert, and he's just the first one to suggest it, and then Timmy Devil, like they're calling for Kaiser to take his spot. Is that legitimate?
Agreed, but I always thought that was going to be the case, that Kaiser could take his spot, and he's absolutely the guy brought in specifically for that purpose. My other point is, it's not like you just have one special teams guy. It's not. It's like one. I only have one linebacker special teams guy who fits that mold. That's not how that works. That's not how kickoff coverage works. That's not how punt coverage works. It's like you can have multiple of those guys. So when they say that spot, quote unquote, it's not like there's just that one guy. It's just how many special team guys do you have, and how much room on your roster do you have for that sort of guy? And I think there's a few spots in that way. Not to mention that you have other trickle-down effects from other things that's happening that I don't want to get too deep into the woods on, but I'll just say generally, you have a lot of injuries on your roster from guys who probably could also contribute to special teams, and those can also have a downstream impact of guys who you're going to choose to keep on the roster, like potentially a Chad Muma. That's all.
Right. Monteric Browns and those of the likes who are currently missing time due to injury and things like that. Sure.
Right. But I know folks are hating right now, and they should, because it wasn't good. It was very bad. The fact of the matter is, we talked about it in our pregame, Duval Dive on Friday. Hey, missed tackles. It was literally the top of the list. You can't miss tackles. Chad Muma, you missed 3 tonight in 2 plays.
And
let's talk about that. You missed. How you missed, bro? I was 185 pounds, 4% body fat DB, ankle biting, grabbing you on your shoelaces to make sure I get you down on the ground, cornerback. And I ain't missed 3 tackles probably in my life, bro. And that's not me hating. I'm sorry, but hey, whatever you want to call it. That's not me hating. That was not even the thing that I was known for. And I don't miss tackles like that. How you miss 3 tackles in 2 plays? Nah, Sway, I ain't never done that. 2 plays, 3 tackles, bro. That was something.
I gotta say, the hate was more for the comments. I just finally found it while you were on your soapbox. And it's a great take though. You can't be in the NFL and missing 3 tackles in 2 plays. I think that's the point. I get it.
No, but he did it like it was later in the game, bro. It was against people who probably aren't going to make the roster. that, like, he gave up the first down. That was late in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line against a lot of third, fourth, and maybe even fifth stringers on the Miami Dolphins offense. That's rough. That's if anybody wants to make the opposite argument away from what I'm making, I understand how I sound. I understand the words coming out of my mouth. Like, this ain't Jackie Chan Rush Hour. I get how I sound. I don't like it either.
That's correct.
Right. I don't like it either. But I want to be very clear in saying, like, hey, no, we are talking about fifth and fourth string guys who end up forcing these missed tackles with the game on the line. And that probably is not going to earn you a roster spot if you were the coaching staff, looking over Chad Movement. I fully understand that. So trust me when I say it. I don't want that necessarily to be the case. If I'm a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I just personally believe that is going to be the case. Just me reading the landscape and not being in my feelings.
Yeah, no, that's a whole other thing. We're getting questions, folks. I got to tell you, you're bringing stuff up that I think are grab bag questions that I am happy to go over in the coming weeks, but we're not doing it right now. One example is, will Balky ever get another chance of being in the front office? I think that's a great conversation.
Lee.
It's a conversation I want to do in the grab bag.
Oh, God.
PJB bringing up NTN being traded again. That's another grab bag to talk about. Here we go.
I mean, we don't have a game. We don't have a game next week. Let's get some of these, because some of these they're gonna be great, but also.
I mean, if they're gonna be fun, there's some. I mean, listen, I'm officially, my crackheady take is seeming a lot more crackheady with every pass, or a lot less crackheady with every passing day. I feel like.
Which one was your crackheadiest take? I forget.
The Jags winning the division.
Oh yeah, that's not very crackheadish at all. Like, at this point, that's sober. That's a sober take. All of a sudden, you see that Houston Texans offensive line. Come on, bro.
I mean,
Oh man. So I mean, you had you had Austin Trammell, who had a prime opportunity to kind of solidify the fact that he was going to be the wide receiver 5 in this group. And wasn't his strongest game. He's had a strong game, this preseason. That just wasn't the game that you wanted. I mean, even James Gladstone kind of had to, fluff it up a little bit, talking about coming back from being down and all of these things. And the downs are you dropping balls. Like, that's rough when you have that opportunity, because I don't know that the Jaguars front office necessarily believes in that wide receiver spot. And you've already heard the rumors about them calling around and speaking with other teams, talking about bringing in another receiver. You can't have that, bro. Like, that's your time. That's it. Storm the Desert says Muma actively got worse doing his time in Jax. The one thing he was known for coming out of Wyoming was the fact that he was a sideline to sideline tackling ability. Dude missed like 7 tackles in college. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Hold on, real quick. I have to have a conversation with our Duval divers. J-Bo, this is just disrespectful. What are you doing? Travis D. Holmes is a Mooma stand. Come on, man. First of all, the awkward stand moments are officially over, and you can thank Colin for this, because Luke Fortner is now a Saint. Okay, so no more of that. That's disrespectful.
Wow.
No, J-Bo, that made me laugh too.
I mean, y'all called me Smoot Stan, and then I was right on that one. So now it's not called being a Stan anymore. It's just called being right. But
you're a Smoot Stan, but you were also right. 2 things could be true. Okay, listen.
Oh, but
I'm a LaQuint Allen Stan, and I'm right. See, again, 2 things could be true. I'm just saying.
Jeez. All right, cool. So Jordan Roberts says, tonight it was obvious we didn't have the talent at quarterback and wide receiver, but shout out to Udinsky. He had plenty of extended drive, preseason or not. Foreign to me as a Jags fan.
That's a fair point. Not a lot of
fair. And he called the game himself from start to finish. It's one of the few times he's had that opportunity. Like, he's done it before, but it's a rarity basically. And yeah, he called a really good game despite having backup quarterbacks, and we've seen what they've been able to do in the past. With Baker Mayfield coming in for the Rams with less than a week to kind of get prepared, and he ended up doing well again with the same offense, with these same guys kind of coaching them up. So the fact that he was able to do it again with less than stellar quarterback play, less than stellar receiver and supporting cast play, and reasonably solid running back play from Jackson and Harris, then I will say that Udinski kind of showed his. He showed that he's earned his stripes a little bit right now. I mean, he's not even freaking 30 years old, which is crazy.
Yeah,
But
that's nuts, isn't it? And I flashed a comment earlier, and I really wish I remembered where it was. It's my bad. But somebody mentioned somebody mentioned the interior O-line, doing their job. Other than the bad snap, yeah, I feel like they did a pretty good job. There were some of the flags and stuff. I think that was on the tackle, but
we know about the whole movement situation. I think we've hashed that out, despite the fact that y'all are probably going to be in my mentions and or picketing outside of my house. It is what it is. And we've talked about BJ Green and Danny Strigo. I get that, and that's going to be a very difficult conversation at the end of all of this. I still don't know if they're going to bring in another quarterback, another wide receiver. They could end up eventually trading for someone, but you're talking Tuesday. They could end up just kind of going through the whole motion. I'm going through the roster cuts on Tuesday and still make a trade on Thursday. Who the heck knows? But we still don't know about that cornerback spot. Kenny Lovely had a rough night tonight. I'm just gonna keep it 100. Like, he had a really rough night. He gave up 3 20-plus. Well, I'm sorry, a 17-yard play, 2 21-yard plays in the back in the. Goodness gracious, in the secondary. I believe it was 2 drives. That's kind of wild. I don't know what's going to happen with Montero Brown and his injury. That's going to be kind of interesting. And I don't really know with the fact that they had 3 of those guys, not playing tonight. Bashaw Tootin, Travis Etienne, and Tank Bigsby all didn't play tonight. And you just got a heavy dose of LaQuint Allen. Does that your indicator that LaQuint Allen's going to be the guy who's a healthy scratch?
We didn't get LaQuint Allen tonight.
Well, I'm sorry. We didn't even get LaQuint Allen. My bad. He was just dressed tonight. Yeah, he was just dressed. That's a very clear, misstatement on my part. Like, that's kind of what I'm like. Was that your indicator right there? That he's going to be the one who's going to be the healthy scratch because you can't go to Liam Cohen earlier this week. I already said 4 of these guys are probably not going to be dressed on game day. It's just kind of figuring out what that's going to look like. Is that kind of your giveaway at that point? I just don't know, man. But that's going to be very interesting, though.
So I'll say this: there's a lot of Travis Etienne talk here.
Trade conversations and stuff. I think
the middle ground that I would like to see is if he is traded, it happens James Robinson style, like it did back when they officially converted to NTN. It's going to be midseason. Yeah. They're going to maximize his value because they like other stuff they saw and go in a different direction better. I think if it happens, that's how it happens. I don't think we're seeing anything in the offseason if ETN is traded, and I'll leave that at that.
Let me pull this one up. All right. So Robert Lamson asked, did Jordan Jefferson show enough to make the roster? And then Timmy Devil also asked something similar, like, no way they keep Jefferson, Hamilton, and Saunders, which is basically the same question. And that's fair. All 3 of those guys are nose tackle type defensive tackles. Did they show enough? Well, Saunders didn't play. They traded for him from Luke Fortner, and he's a veteran in the contract year, whereas Jefferson was someone they didn't bring in, and he was here from the previous regime. And if I'm just objectively saying what the tape looks like, you don't have to ask my opinion. I've said it on this podcast. I put it in the Big Cat Country articles on my observation pieces. I'm very clear in saying I do not believe Jordan Jefferson has the resume or has the film to be on this roster right now.
You think they practice squad him?
I think he's cut. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if he's going to make it through waivers to be a practice squad guy or whatever else, but I don't know that he's here. I don't know. I just know he's not on that 53. I don't believe that to be that's personally. I know coming in OTAs and such, the coaching staff truly did love Jefferson and they thought he was going to be a good player, but I'm looking at the film and he ain't doing it, bro. He is not. If you're a nose tackle, you cannot be 3 yards down the field. You cannot be 7 yards down the field in your linebacker's lap. That's a problem that I will see way too consistently on film, unfortunately. So I don't believe he makes the 53-man roster. I can tell you that now. Like a spoiler alert. Tomorrow, he ain't making the roster. That's my opinion based on my 53-man roster.
I can't diss that take. I like Connor McNally's take here. Camp schemes look exciting. Complete opposite from preseason week 1. Glad to see
Yeah,
we
man.
have some
That
real
man heard y'all. That
coaches.
man heard these streets talking. That's what that was. That he
Mhm.
heard y'all mumbling and murmuring in these streets because y'all he was too vanilla, and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna show y'all something so y'all can shut up." That's what that came down to.
You need to start playing Weird Al's "I Love Rocky Road," just so you know it ain't vanilla no more. That's right, ice cream humor. I'm fat.
Mm.
Remember, folks? Come on, divers.
If Campanelli does what he did in this preseason game with these second and third stringers against the Miami Dolphins, I'll bet. Sorry, starting unit. I'm just keeping it a buck. If he does that with the Jaguars starting units and starting personnel, and I think those guys can probably ball out of control. So we still had questions of what Campanelli was going to do defensively, just because we've never seen it before. So if it's going to be something as similar to this and as aggressive as they've been with those other guys, yeah, I think we might be all right. In Jacksonville, we could be all right. I can see that.
PJ
PJ Brown.
Yeah, he's got faith in Gladstone. I'm sure every Duval diver / member of the Duval Devout has faith in Jimmy Stones, but he gets the best players on the field. Tootin and Ventrell Miller should be starting. That's a take. I'll give him that.
Tootin should be sprinkling in until you can effectively say he's earned the starting spot. Tootin still did spend half of the training camp injured.
It's going to
And
be
when
a
he was
committee spot. I don't think there's
yeah,
any.
right. But and even when he was able to get in, he's like he did a few good things. So it's not to say he didn't earn a spot, but if you're saying he's overtaken a Tank Bigsby or a Travis Etienne, I don't think the film shows that. I don't think that's like just being objective. But if you're talking about who was the other one? It was like I'm sorry, it was two people. Goodness gracious, Bayshaw Tootin and Ventrell Miller. Ventrell Miller had a solid game last week. He had one bad play, and it was him trying to make a play on the ball as far as the pass breakup was concerned, and he only gave up like 3 additional yards of yak in that process. Overall, I think he's had a pretty solid preseason also. So if you were to tell me that they were going to trade Devin Lloyd and play Ventrell Miller as that second linebacker with Fourier, I wouldn't be shocked at that, honestly. But I also wouldn't be shocked if they just played Devin Lloyd and just kind of just continue developing the rest of these guys. That's also fine. But I think Ventrell's made a much more solid argument, a much more solid case for starting, or at least pushing that starting role than Bayshaw Tootin has currently. Like, I also equally wouldn't be shocked. And I said this to somebody like the day before yesterday. I'd equally would not be shocked that Bayshaw Tootin wasn't even dressed on the first Sunday of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was actually no, it was Jamal St. Cyr, News for Jags. That's who it was. I'm sorry, yeah. And he was like, yeah, well, he said he believes Bayshaw Tootin is going to be the third back dressed on game day on week 1. And I said, I think LaQuint Allen's going to be the active back on because I think his pass protection is just that much stronger than any of the other 3 guys, including Bayshaw Tootin. We'll see. I don't know where the team's going to land, and that really just comes down to what they see when we're not looking. So.
Well, and running backs, I feel like running backs missing time is inevitable. So ain't nothing wrong with that kind of depth. I'm going to leave that at that. I think that makes sense. Connor McNally makes a point. Think Coach Campanelli is going to continue to drop defensive tackles into coverage as much as he has in preseason, or is that just to get the OCs thinking during the regular season? Connor's asking if he sees 4D chess. Sir, I would say this before you go. Colin Saunders is a thing, and he's a superior athlete for such a large dude. That tells me he's going to do it just as much. That's my take. What's yours, Travis?
I don't think it had anything to do with other offensive coordinators. I don't even think it had anything to do with getting stuff on tape. I think it had everything to do with this coaching staff trying to figure out what they have on the guys on. It's more of us trying to figure out, hey, what works with these guys? We've seen them on tape in other systems. We've seen them fail in other systems, and we know what may not work necessarily. But does this work with this guy? Does this work with this grouping of guys? A lot of it's just kind of just figuring out what works for them. So that's why I think they were more vanilla in that first game, in that first week. They just wanted to see what fit guys right, and kind of keep it moving from there. We kind of figured out that dropping these guys in coverage didn't seem to work very much for these guys in week 1. So maybe they want to stop doing it a little bit more and just have to be a little more aggressive going forward instead of going backwards. And you didn't see it very much in the preseason from that time moving forward. I think some of this is going to be just these guys, both offensively and defensively, getting to know each other. And that will mean sometimes you'll have a play that's just didn't work out because it's just the wrong personnel for the wrong type, like the wrong type of guys to run that type of play. It is what it is. It's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I get all of that. That makes a lot of sense. I'll leave that at that. The comments are lighting up, Divers. I like what you're doing here. This is fun.
Mm.
Robert mentioned it's not quite James Robinson style because Fournette was traded not long before week 1, but I get your point. Yeah, no, what I was getting to in particular with James Robinson and Travis Etienne
And ETN, the
yeah,
other trade. Yes, yes,
right,
yes.
is the two are linked in that Etienne ended up replacing James Robinson on a day where Travis called that trade coming 2 days before it did, by the way. Second,
Folks don't be listening.
I did, damn it. So, no, but folks need to be listening to Travis D. Holmes and the Duval Dive, duh. But I think it's more of that me pointing out that circle where now he might be the guys that would be replaced like that. But I hear where you're going to. It's not a perfect analogy per se. It's more me, acknowledging the changing of that guard being a potential. And if that is done, it would maximize Etienne's value. I see that point.
And we still have a lot of arguments about what Caleb Ramsaw is going to be, and I always think that's real interesting. Just because that's the big one, because most of us just haven't seen him very much this preseason, since he's been out for the preseason since essentially the end of OTAs, the early parts of training camp. A lot of the guys in the comments, so that's kind of the conversation, is the nervousness surrounding Caleb Bransall's ability to play in the NFL, or other people just saying, hey, Bransall's going to be pretty good. Like that's from PJ Brown. And I'm like, I don't know what Caleb Bransall is going to be. I believe he has the traits to be great, but that's just traits. You got to be on the field developing. You got to be on the field and in the classroom, learning the defense and learning the checks and learning the calls and communicating with these guys to be on the same page, so that when these motions happen and they're immediate, you're saying the right things and you're in the right spot at the right time, and all these things, moving pieces that we just don't know how that's going to go. And we don't even know the state of his injury. Like, let's to be clear, like he was week to week at the start of training camp, and he is still week to week right now based on our most recent updates. We don't know what that is.
Could you pick a better guy to learn from then, though, than Dewey? I'm just going to throw that out there. He's got to be a good influence on a younger player. I would think. I could be wrong, but
I almost curse. I don't know. Like, that's a dude. And I don't know. And I'm not judging Dewey. I'm not downing Dewey or anything like that. But
I'm just saying it gives me a good impression. You don't, I think. Let me give you
impressions.
Let me give you the Travis D. Holmes answer that I think might apply here. Sure.
All right. All right, bro. You've been around these dudes long enough, and I surely have been around these dudes long enough to know that a guy who shows themselves as great could be terrible, and a guy that shows himself as terrible could be great, and they just can be putting on these facades. Like, I hated learning that JJ Watt was just all this acting and just the facade and the makeup and the PR stuff. I ain't like none of that. The same way I would argue that's the exact same thing
you're
with
trying to throw hands right now, really?
That's the same thing I think with Russell Wilson. I'm just being real about it.
Well,
like,
Russell,
a lot of these guys, they're just not real. So I'm not saying that about Dewey necessarily. I'm saying that about just guys in general. Like, when you meet him, you're like, oh, yeah, he cool. Yeah, he cool. And I don't care what he said on camera. Like, he cool though. Or and the exact opposite with other guys. So you're like, hey, he's a great guy to learn from. Nah, that's what we got coaches for. I ain't worried about who they learn from. That's also in the secondary. Because if that was the case, then all the guys behind Ed Reed would have been Ed Reed light, and they won because that was one. He was one of one. And
that's not the same thing at all. I mean, the point you make is valid. I don't want to get lost in the example, but guys that aren't Ed Reed that need to study harder because they don't have all of Ed Reed's God-givens, they know how to study and get better by studying, right?
Sure.
There's a reason why some of your better analysts are quarterbacks that weren't as successful, right? Yes. We all know who Trent Dilfer is. He's a good analyst, wasn't the best, NFL quarterback out there.
That's fair. That's fair. Anyway. Hey man, I wasn't the best cornerback out there. I'm going to be clear. Hey man, God told me my body was not made for football. It did not work out well, like in those ways. I could not take the hits and the impact of a car accident every week. I understand it. So but I had the mind for it. I could tell you what was coming a mile away. I could tell you what was coming defensively, offensively, how to attack it, all of the above. Like, I can chop it up and kind of screw it up. And that's why I was great in coaching. All of that. But I don't know that because you are a solid NFL guy, you just seem like a great wholesome guy in the NFL. That means you're going to be helping the next guy behind him and teach him. Like that could be the case, cool, but it also equally might not be the case. And I don't want to put that on someone. That's why I say that's why you got coaches, man. That's what the coaches are for.
You don't have to agree. I just, again, I guess that I get that impression. I don't claim to know either. It would be, I'll say, I would be thoroughly surprised if Dewey's presentation.
But I got a question for you, bro.
Yeah.
Does Savage make the roster? As of today, does Savage make the roster? I've been saying this from day one, and I still didn't know. It was a coin flip from the start.
We've alluded to the fact that we didn't think Darnell Savage would be on this roster going back to when, like, I think we're back in February, January, that far back, right? We've been saying this for a minute, and to your point, I still don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm still. I truly think it comes down to Ransaw's injury.
I was going to say, because Ransaw's hurt, it's hard to say no, isn't it?
That's it. If Ransaw's injury is worse than we know, because they don't have to report it until the week 1 gets here, when you start talking about like the injury report for the NFL, then you'll know. But other than that, if Ransaw's injury situation is something that he'll be back in week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever it is, then I don't know how Savage is here because he doesn't play special teams like that. He hasn't since his last year in Green Bay. He really didn't play special teams much under Heath Farwell and last season, and he hasn't so far this year. So yeah, if they're going to play the guys who play special teams over him, and Ray Lane looked pretty solid tonight also.
He really did. I do like me some Ray Lane.
And missed no tackles. Wrap it up.
And he's a special teams player. That's why Moon was in trouble. I keep telling you.
Ray Lane, that's 3 out of 3. Yeah, that's it, bro.
But Connor McNally asks, there's usually at least one surprise cut that comes out of left field. Who do you think that is? We've alluded to some of them, right? So, like, I think Darnell Savage would count as one. Jordan Johnson being cut might be Jordan Jefferson rather might be. I've been speaking too much to UCF running back coach and former center George Johnson on the black and gold banneret. That's my bad. No, I didn't even mean for that to be a plug. I just made it with one, so I didn't feel as stupid.
Is that a surprise? That's the question now. Is that a surprise to you?
What makes it surprising?
If Jordan Jefferson was cut,
it would have been a surprise before Colin Saunders arrived. You're absolutely right about that. But it depends on how you phrase surprise. Preseason week 1, you would not have said he would be cut. Now, we got the breadcrumbs, and I hear you.
That's fair. So you got Jordan Jefferson. You got who else did you say? Jordan. Okay. So you got
candidates that it could be. I'm not saying that it will happen.
I'm still gonna go in and say BJ Green.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody want him. Everybody want BJ Green, and I want BJ Green. I've liked BJ Green from the time I got it.
Surprise! I think that'll be a snub.
So that'll be not a surprise, but kind of surprise light, because everybody's now wants him on the roster because of how well he did tonight, despite the fact he did equally well last week. Like, he was already dang good just a week ago, but just nobody was noticing. And now it was like, oh yeah, I want BJ Green on the roster. And it's like, I still don't know that he's going to make the roster based on who's in front of him. But I think that would be a surprise for me personally, while also saying I absolutely am seeing it coming. A true surprise, like Antonio Johnson, is that a surprise?
I don't think so. Munt would kind of be a surprise. DeJuan Smoot's not getting cut, Robert. That's not happening.
I mean, I don't have Antonio Johnson making the roster right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I actually don't have him making the roster, so I didn't think that was a surprise.
I didn't draw up a 53. I just feel like Johnson's going to be a cut.
So. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So I guess I didn't view that as a surprise. So I don't know what will come to the level of a surprise other than something, because anybody that's worth anything is not going to be cut. They're going to be traded. Likely, at least they're going to try to trade him at least. I don't know who else is left. Like Devin Lloyd would be the level of player that you would probably have to be considered a surprise in my book. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that's necessarily going to happen. So I'm just like, I don't know what else.
And Jordan Roberts is making the point I made the other night about Darnell Savage, about all the athleticism we hear about, but he seems to rarely pair it with instincts to actually make a play on the ball. If he's not making a play, he's not physical enough to get dirty. I mean,
okay.
There's some points there. There's some points there.
I got a surprise cut for you.
Uh-oh.
I actually have a few that I think could be surprise cuts, but not actually cuts.
Okay.
I think it will piss people off. I think people will go crazy for 12 hours to 24 hours in a day, and then they'll be like, "Oh, I guess that makes sense." So I got 5 guys. Let me get through the 5. Fred Johnson, Dennis Garadek, Colin Saunders, who just was traded for, Daniel Thomas, and Austin Trammell. Now, I named those 5 specifically because they're all veterans in the final year of their contract. And either they have a 1-year contract or they're in the final year of their contract. And the reason I'm naming those guys specifically, because if the Jaguars have a plan that they want to put somebody on IR, they can't cut someone who's still on their rookie part of their contract, because then they'll go to waivers. They can release one of these veterans and just have a handshake agreement and just be like, "Hey, I'm going to cut you today. I'm going to sign you tomorrow or sign you in 48 hours. We're going to get you back on the roster." You see this happen like every few years with the different NFL teams. Those are the 5 guys that immediately come to mind for me. I'm just like, if they were to get cut today, people would be freaking out for 24 hours. And then they'll be like, oh, cool. Yeah, come back. And then it'll just be like, oh, I guess that's what they were doing. Yeah, Gladstone cooked again. Yay. And then everybody go crazy. So
you're not
naming those 5
That's
guys.
A great point.
If one of those 5 names do get cut, I'm not going to go too crazy just yet, just on the off chance that they could be coming back right back into the fold, like, a few days later. So that's just front of mind.
Fair enough. We're already 40 minutes deep. It's late as night, and we still have comments coming in. Duval diving, amazing. Unfortunately, we got church tomorrow. No,
yeah, man, my church went from 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with myself, bro.
Yeah, facts. I got nothing there. It's a fun time, but
no, we are not cutting Daniel Thomas.
See, I wasn't even going to dignify that as but you pulled it up, so now you brought it into the universe. Yeah, no, you don't cut Thomas. He may be a surprise, but I don't think that's happening.
That would be a surprise for me personally, but we'll see.
So with that being said, I think, Travis, you need to tell the world where you could be found.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes, whether it's Blue Sky, X, Instagram, etc. But don't worry about me. Worry about the Duval Dive. If you're listening to us right now, take a second, take a beat. It costs you nothing to hit the like button on this stream, and more importantly, hit the subscribe button on the profile. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you catch your podcast. It costs you nothing, helps us out tremendously. Keep this thing going and help us while it's still free. But yeah, we appreciate you guys at the Believe Podcast Network, and please let the people know BigCatCountry.com is where you need to get your takeaways from this camp, takeaways from tonight's game, our 53-man breakdown, and all of your additional, Jacksonville Jaguars on the ground coverage, but also at Fans First Sports Network with my guy Kyle. So where can you be found, sir?
I can be found, of course, as Travis mentioned, doing writings for your Jacksonville Jaguars at Fans First Sports Network. Look for my top performers from tonight, as I've done for every preseason game with which I have written the Jacksonville Jaguars for various outlets, by the way, but for Fans First Sports Network for now. Also, my work with the Orlando Magic, that is rapidly approaching. Of course, my work with the Black and Gold Banneret coming up soon. Game 1 on Thursday. UCF hosts Jacksonville State. Yeah, so of course, Scott Frost will be on the mic on Monday, and I will do my first coach translator article for UCF, and anybody else who talks who I think has something to say and might translate some things they're trying to tell us there too, turning football English into English. Not that Scott Frost uses a lot of coach speak compared to some other coaches in the past. One might think that I'm giving this situation a little too much hype, but I digress. I'm talking about people that made coach speak. Just leave me alone, Travis. Anyways, of course, you can check out my work as well with the Bolt Bits Uncut. Tuesday, we'll have the 53-man reaction there for the Chargers. As Robert, thank you for the Chargers there. So check that out. And let's see. Black Lopez, or is that? Yeah, I think that's everything. So, guys, great time. Hey, we're a good show tonight because you guys brought in a lot of good stuff. It's a whole thing. There'll be a podcast after church tomorrow, quite possibly. I don't know when Travis is posting, but he has alluded to his 53-man roster. I'm just not brave enough to do one like that. Man, listen, Travis is the former coach. So with all that being said, for all you Duval devout Duval divers out there, thank you once again for your contribution. We too are excited for real football. And hey, if you have grab bag questions, start throwing those in, because sooner than later, we going to bring them up again one more time. And so for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, Kyle Nash is soon the game, saying, until next time, everyone, class